Hi students, welcome back to the class. Today's topic adaptation. I hope all of you know what is meant by adaptation. The adaptation means it is the ability of the organism to adjust the environment. To adjust the environment. Otherwise, it is the characteristic of living organism. So all organisms having different characters and adaptive features. So I will give you some example of the adaptation. The first one, that's a desert rat is adapted for the desert condition or desert climatic condition than the field rat. Okay, so the field rat is needed only the optimum temperature for the surviving, but in the case of desert rabbit need the extreme temperature or extreme hot seasons. Okay, in the case of same, camel is also adapted for the hot and dry climate. So this camel is also one peculiar character, is also consume the maximum amount of or quantity of water at a time for long time for long duration. That means in the desert region is very less availability of the water. That's why that camel, whenever getting the enough water, they consuming the maximum for store for further means the future life. And in the case of some other organisms, polar bear is always leave that ice below 0 degrees Celsius. So that need the extreme cold temperature. So some of the organisms having different adaptive features. So today's class I will give you explanation about this type of characteristics of the organisms. So first one, the adaptations classified into two types. The first one, short-term adaptation, and second one, long-term adaptation. So what is mean by short-term adaptation? The short-term adaptation means it is a temporary adaptation. Temporary, that means only the few days or few hours or few months only. This type of adaptation is called a temporary adaptation. So I will give you a simple example. We are also standing outside for getting the sunlight. Okay. So the sunlight is also our body skin help to absorb. Means our body skin having one pigment that's called melanin pigment that ready to absorb the radiation, and that radiation help to protect our tissues. Okay, that's why that we want to accept the sunlight. So this we are receiving that sunlight is a one short-term adaptation only. Short term. Whenever getting the sunlight, we are only utilize that one. So in the case of long-term adaptation means it is a permanent adaptation. That means some of the birds having the long beak and claws. It is a lifelong. That means permanent character adaptation. That's why there's this beak and claws help to catching the food and taking the food. Okay. So there are two types of adaptation. First one, short-term adaptation, and second one, long-term adaptation. Okay. And mainly adaptation. Next one, adaptation in plants. The next topic, adaptation in plants. So the adaptation in plants, they are classified into three categories. First one, hydrophytes. Second one, mesophytes, and third one, xerophyte. So let's see what is the types of habitat in plants. What is the nature? What is the reason for separating these different adaptive natures in plants? The first one, hydrophyte. What is mean by hydrophyte? The hydrophyte means some of the plants always living in the water. So that plants is called hydrophytes. Those plants living in the water is called hydrophytes. So this hydrophytes again classified into three different types. The plants again classified into three different types. first one, free floating plants, and rooted and free floating plants, and submerged and rooted. Okay, so let's see. First one, free floating plants. So here Wolfia and Pistia is the best example for free floating plants. So that means according to the water current, these plants are moving one place to other place. So these small plants, it is floating in the surface of the water. Okay, so that is called free floating plants. Example, Wolfia and Pistia. Second one, rooted and free floating. So that means these plants the roots are attached to the soil. And the leaves floating on the surface. Okay, so the best example, lotus plant and the water lily. These are best example for rooted and free floating plants. Okay, next one, submerged and rooted. So here the roots are attached to the attached to the soil, and the whole plant is also living inside the water. The leaves is not come upside, so only inside the plant. Okay, so these are example, Valsneria and Hydra is also example for submerged and rooted. And next one, mesophytic plants that is living in the moderate temperature regions, otherwise moderate water requirement. So this means it's also terrestrial plants is living in the not in the wet and not the dry. It is near the optimum water availability. They want to need the optimum level of waters for their better surviving. Okay. And next one, xerophyte. The xerophyte planting means mainly they want to face the scarcity and hot and dry climatic conditions. So some of the plants living in some of desert, it's the best example, desert plants. Some of the plants living without water in long years. For example, cactus, opensia, this type of plants is living long. So what happens in the desert region is, all of you know, is very less availability of water. But some plants is living there in long time. Okay, so that plants is not plants is living without water is called xerophytic plants. So I hope all of you understood this topic, adaptation. The adaptation means it is a characteristic features of living organism, and the adaptation is mainly two types: short-term adaptation and long-term adaptation. And the adaptation in plants classified into major three types. First one, hydrophytic, mesophytic and xerophytic. So these three classifications that according to the water availability. Hydrophytic means they only leave the water. Mesophytic means it is near the average water areas, and xerophytic means plants will live without the water. Okay. And the hydrophytes again classified into three types: free floating, rooted and free floating, and submerged and rooted. So I hope all of you understood this topic. Thank you.